The film starts with a news reporter and a scientist Marshall. While interviewing, Marshall explains to the reporter that there is only one option to the survival of the planet, and that is time travel. The reporter laughs at him because Marshall has spent more than $500 million from the government. He hasn't gained anything but displays a book, and declares all of the research is included in the book. The reporter tells Marshall that many renowned scientists are making fun of him. Marshall leaves later. The news reporter was continuously badmouthing Marshall, but after coming there again he attacked the reporter. The reporter sprinkles spray on his mouth, and this all was going live. Marshall has lost his job, and we see him again after 3 years. He comes up with an element for time travel, and the device's name is tachyon. He was giving a presentation to everyone about this item because he became a science teacher from the scientist after that incident. Meanwhile, we witness a young lady named Holly approaching him. She identifies herself as an archaeologist student. After reading his book, she was so impressed. Marshall tells her that the rest of the world is laughing at him and is about to leave after that, but Holly intervened. She gives him a stone that she claims she found in the desert. This artifact was 30,000 years old and still had the mark of the lighter on it. She discovered a crystal in the area that creates an outburst of pure energy. His lighter fits perfectly on the stone. Later, Holly meets him for the second time. Marshall wants to develop a tachyon meter after listening to Holly once again. He has constructed it while staying awake all night. They visit the desert where Holly had discovered the crystal. Both of them arrive in the middle of America and Mexico. There was a shop and a man named Will. Marshall informs him that there is a secret cave nearby and that we must proceed from there. Meanwhile, Will asks his friend to look after the shop and they enter the cave. Marshall possesses the tachyon meter because there was a lot of water in the cave. Will tells them about the cave by exaggerating it while driving them. It's highly dangerous, and it's been said that there are lizard-like aliens here. After entering the cave they discover an alien. It appeared to be a lizard, but it was Will's trap. The tachyon meter starts to bleep and he rotates his meter, causing a tremendous earthquake hit there. Their boat sinks into a deep pit as a result. Marshall opens his eyes and finds himself in the middle of a desert. When Holly unlocks the door, she sees a massive ship. There were 3 moons in the sky and Marshall's tachyon meter was proven to be operational there. He grows happy as he watches all of this, and after they notice there are 3 ancient men like monkeys. 2 monkey men were trying to assassinate their third companion. Marshall, Holly, and Will started shouting as they watched this. Instead of killing their companion, they turn their gear on these people. Will confidently attempt to frighten them by burning the lighter, but he throws the lights by mistake. After stealing his lighter, both monkeys flee while the third monkey goes into hiding. 3 of them approach them, and Holly, with her hand on her chest, introduces herself. He also likes Holly and introduces himself as Cha Kansas. Marshall witnesses injuries on his feet and wants to cure them, but he runs from them. 3 of them pursue, but in the meantime, a massive trench has been dug in the desert. They fall into a cave filled with skeletons. Marshall and Will frighten Chaka, so he hides beside Holly. During this time, the tree roots reach their feet and hang them in the air. They realize that by confining humans in this way, the trees are eating them. They start swinging by clutching each other's hands to stay alive. In the meantime, a massive dinosaur enters the cave. Instead of biting them, the dinosaur cuts the tree's roots. When the root breaks, all of the Marshalls fall to the ground and flee. Holly believes she will reveal everything after she returns to Earth, and that's why she starts filming, but the dinosaur is chasing them down. They begin to flee from there. Chaka set aside the other side of the bridge. Meanwhile, 3 of them yell and run across the bridge to get there. Dinosaurs couldn't cross the bridge to get to the other side. Meanwhile, Marshall claims that the brain of a dinosaur is very small. The dinosaur hears him approaching and leaps to him. They cross a bridge to get to a cave and save themselves. He is unable to enter the cave and exits by glaring at Marshall. Meanwhile, they hear the radio and notice something. When Chaka turned on the radio, he discovered the skeletons of previous owners. Despite their fear, they decide to spend the night there. Marshall informs Chaka that he will sleep outside while the rest will sleep inside. Will grows fond of Chaka and declares that he will sleep with us as well. Holly converses with Chaka in his native language and he reveals that he is the ruler of their kingdom. And that is why his 2 companions seek to assassinate him to take control of his kingdom. Will brings a large box to the cave's entrance to seal it. There's no need to be terrified of the dinosaur according to Marshall because he has the brain of a walnut. A large noise emerges from outside, and when they all look outdoors, they notice a large walnut. Marshall starts recording and the camera's battery is about to run out. The meal was also over and Marshall talks that if they couldn't find their next meal, they'll eat Cha Kansas. Everyone comes inside later and Chaka brings them fruits to eat. Marshall is ashamed of his remark and starts eating the fruit. But venomous ants emerged from the fruit have begun to bite him. During this time, they notice a peculiar light coming from within the jungle. Meanwhile, Marshall is under the impression that the alien is calling him. He leaps to his feet and rushes to the alien's aid. Will admits to Holly that he's undoubtedly gone insane since arriving here. Everyone was trying to stop him, however, he comes to a halt in the middle of the forest. There was a bra mat shaped crystal and they're going to get their hands on it. Meanwhile, Chaka mentions the frog-like statues in the area. He tries to communicate with them in his language. But at the same time aliens arrive and encircle them. They were about to kill them, but Holly spins her belt. Marshall's belt buckle rotates, allowing sunlight to shine on the statues. As a result, the crystal's entrance opens. Marshall was approached by a creature that requested his assistance. He has been kidnapped by the other aliens, and he has touched the crystal. Meanwhile, a hologram appears and informs them that this is the alien who wishes to take over the planet. He wants to be in charge of everything. He says, I tried to stop him, but he kidnapped me. His next target is your planet Earth. Now you have the opportunity to save both me and the planet. Marshall assures him that he will be saved. Meanwhile, everything begins to shake when he touches the crystal. According to the alien, if these crystals are misplaced, several doorways will open there. As a result, a large number of aliens will enter. They'll need the tachyon meter to save the aliens. Marshall intends to first save ourselves from the dinosaur, so he brings yellow liquid in a cane to them. He says that it is dinosaur's urine, and if we sprinkle or eat it, the dinosaur will not notice us. He splatters the liquid all over his body and drinks it. Marshall's eyes start to burn and his nose starts to block after 5 minutes. Chaka screams and summons them, then takes them to a new location. Things are falling from the sky there and tiny dinosaurs were roaming around. Meanwhile, an ice cream car falls, but dinosaurs attack the ice cream truck. Ice cream is thrown in their faces by the ice cream vendor. In the meantime, the big dinosaur comes and they separate his head. There's also a female dragon and both dinosaurs fight each other, and during their battle, Marshall claims that they don't appear to be looking in any direction. When Marshall says this, the dinosaurs quickly pursue them. He runs in a zigzag pattern to avoid them. Meanwhile, the dinosaur grabs him and pushes him aside in a single attack. Marshall is also pursued by the female dragon and he hides in a car. She climbs up there, but Marshall manages to flee. He notices a nitrogen cylinder nearby and grabs it. He instructs his companions to keep the antique stone throwing machine ready. Marshall keeps the cylinder in place and throws the cylinder while landing it in the dinosaur's mouth. After freezing, the female dragon falls there. Meanwhile, the dinosaur's bodies shatter apart in a split second. In the meantime, the tachyon meter starts to ring. They see that the device is positioned in the center of the dinosaur's body and a flying dinosaur appears while taking a meter with him. Marshall sits in a car exhausted and Holly motivates him to find the tachyon meter. Marshall claims that because I've been defeated before, I won't be able to do it again. She says we should try. When the rest of the world was laughing at you, I had put my faith in your book. As a result, I've been kicked out of university. Now, I believe the world is correct in assuming you are a comedian rather than a scientist. They spend the night under a tree and Chaka tells Will about his kingdom. He says our kingdom's women have pleasant personalities. They also complete out fantasies. Marshall arrives while playing a musical instrument and tells Holly, you've opened my eyes. I'm no longer the elder Marshall. Instead, I've evolved into a new Marshall. We'll go look for the tachyon meter tomorrow. After saying this, he sits down and a mosquito stings his neck. He was singing while the mosquito was sucking his blood lefts, but Marshall feels vulnerable and tired. He falls to the ground and we see a gigantic locust sitting on his back. The locust dies after coming under him. Everyone sleeps there afterward and Marshall's back was pretty swollen. He gives a motivational lecture to the entire audience and says that we'll go to find the tachyon meter. Although he was the last person on the hill and the others were ahead of him. It was the mountain of the volcano when they climbed upside down. The dinosaur's nest, as well as the tachyon meter, was both present. But with this, there were dinosaurs' eggs and with a slight noise, the dinosaurs will emerge from the eggs. Marshall asks Will, but he pretends to be sleeping. He decides to go there alone and removes his shirt. He advances and wears the tachyon meter, and meanwhile, the tachyon meter's melody stops, and the eggs begin to crack. It appears that tachyon meter music was their melody. Later, the baby dinosaurs go back to sleep. They were all inebriated while they swam in the pool. They believe they will be able to return to their world and Chaka rewards them with an unusual fruit. They consider the fruit's water to be coconut and drink it. According to Chaka, it is a hazardous fruit and has alcoholic content in it. Holly activates the tachyon meter, which reads there is tachyon energy in the area. Holly does not contact Marshall or Will but prefers to proceed on her own. When she moves there, she notices a crystal door, which she enters to find a cave. On the other hand, they were having a good time while feeling hungry. They noticed something approaching from afar, and it was a giant crab that was on its way to devour them. The soil suddenly cracks, and the crab crawls inside. The ground made its way to the hot water shower. After the crab has been cooked, they proceed to eat it. Marshall kisses Chaka and says, I've always thought you were wrong. Holly, on the other hand, has gone into a cave. She notices lots of dinosaur eggs and decides to take one of them. Meanwhile, a hologram appeared and the alien says, if anyone is observing me, pay close attention to what I'm saying. He says the alien is trapping me by accusing me of wrong. He is the one who wants to occupy the Earth. The bad alien kills him with a laser beam. Holly tried to exit the cave, but the bad aliens captured her. Will and Marshall, when restoring their senses, begin to find Holly. While entering the cave, they see the aliens who were busy with each other. After a while, they throw their skin away and both of them take an opportunity of this. Holly on the other side was hanged on the lava. Alien invaders have encircled her on all sides and claim she attempted to assist the wicked alien. That is why she must be assassinated. When Will and Marshall learn of this, they peel off their skin and declare that if assisting the alien was a crime, then we should be punished as well. The aliens inform them that an evil alien is attempting to take over the planet. He wants to be in charge of the humans and that's why we put him in prison, but you've aided him. As a result, you will be penalized. Now they both face the aliens and fling them one by one into the lava. Marshall leaps into Holly's cage to save her. However, as the cage was ready to collapse, they sprang to safety. We've aided the evil alien, Holly informs Marshall. Marshall made a blunder by sending Chaka to that evil alien. He's enlisted the aid of his men. The evil alien had arrived with his companions with tachyon meter. In that hologram, he depicts Earth and says that my comrades are experts at making children. While sending my aliens to Earth, humans like you will be annihilated by me. Meanwhile, the dinosaur appears and Marshall informs everyone that they're there to take him. He tells Holly, "I don't love you," and then throws a stone at her. Will stood in front of the dinosaur with a wooden rod in his hand. Marshall leaps from the rod and instead, he enters through his mouth. Holly, who had been witnessing the whole thing, screams angrily. She starts throwing stones at him and declares, "I've fallen in love with a human and you've eaten him." The dinosaur departs from there and Holly chooses to travel the world while collecting the tachyon meter. She'll inform everyone about Marshall's accomplishments. Holly starts killing aliens while spinning the belt. She ends a few aliens, but soon a swarm of them surrounds her. Will was assaulting aliens after holding Kansas. Meanwhile, Will is being held captive by the aliens. Marshall comes there while riding on a dinosaur. He kills all aliens and Marshall lowers himself from his tail. They inquire him, "How long you've been living since the dinosaur ate him?" Marshall claims that the first step is to figure out how to use the tachyon meter. They enter the wicked alien's dimension and the Earth portal has been opened by him. A fight breaks out between Marshall and the alien. Will also wants to join Marshall while they're fighting. He pounces on them but collides with the ground. As a result of his vibrations, a crystal moves from its place. The Earth's gateway gradually opens and as the door closes, Marshall pulls Holly's locket from her pocket. The Earth's door was ready to close and they must depart from there. Will's feet are held by an evil alien. "Wouldn't you take your friend?" he says to Marshall. Will performs a U-turn and grabs the alien. He orders Marshall to leave because he will take care of that alien. He claims that I've decided to make this my home. Everything Chaka told me about his kingdom was positive and I don't want to sit in that idle shop again. Marshall and Holly leave that path and head straight for the cave. Will's friend inquires about him from where they've arrived. They tell him he's moved on to a better place. Chaka and Will are on the other side. While passing through the desert, they arrive at the kingdom of Kansas. Everyone was delighted to see them and a few young ladies approached them. Will considers these ladies to be attractive and becomes ecstatic. On the other hand, we have Marshall who becomes well known after discovering time travel. He reappears in the same TV interview. He has documented all of his research in his book and suggests reporter to read his book. When he sees the title, he becomes enraged and attacks Marshall. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching and watch out for another recap displayed on the screen.